As usual, another great guest, but a quick diversion. You'll notice that our full name is the Marketplace for Health, Wealth, and Freedom. Well, let's talk about your health for a moment. If you'd like to escape from the stranglehold of insurance and be able to see alternative doctors or go across state lines for care, then you definitely need to take a look at patientempowerment.mpb.health and see if that's the fix you've been looking for. Now, let's get back to the show.
Welcome, folks, to Freedom Hub's Health Biz and Politics webinar. I'm Charlie Froman, and my co-host Jim Graypeck is going to help me let in people who actually want to hear about the state of the art in booking specialists. It's a big problem for a number of reasons for those who received the invitation to today's event, and it starts with the trust patients have with just going to the specialist their primary care refers them to. That's the easiest thing to do, but increasingly people want to have more discretion on the specialist they seek. And Dr. Muto, a vein specialist and surgeon, has started an app, Uberdoc, which exploits the sharing economy dynamic to ease that referral process. And the reason it's taking off is that people don't want to end up having to wait for months to get that appointment with the specialist that they know they want to access. And they want to have good feedback on quality and cost and get what they need now versus later. So Dr. Muto, you've been on Freedom Hub at least once, maybe twice over the past few years. And why don't you go ahead and give us an update on Uberdoc. It's taking off. You have specialists across the country in all fields, and not just specialists. It's all physicians who want to have direct relationships with patients. Is that correct?
That is right. And thank you once again for having me here. It's always a pleasure with you guys. And I have to say that, yes, so all physicians are specialists. That's how we kind of start this whole concept, right? Because in fact, it's the way actually Medicare defines us. It's the way insurers actually technically defined us. We are not providers. We don't use that word anymore. And you know, so all physicians are specialists. When we started this, we wanted to make it easier to get to a surgeon without having a referral. We took the insurance out of the equation. We want to make it simple. Pretty quickly, the DPC doctors kind of said, why can't we be on your platform? And more medical specialists said, why can't we be on the platform? So we are now all together, and we have a giant network of specialists from neurosurgery to primary care, family practice, internal medicine, rheumatology, you name it, and regenerative medicine, all these amazing specialties. We are across the country now. We are in 48 states. It's Utah and North Dakota, I think, are the only places that we don't have anyone yet. We are over 75 specialties. We have both in-person and telemedicine capabilities available. So it is extremely exciting time for Uberdoc as we now have begun to partner with like-minded folk in the world of both on the employer side with medical cost sharing, believe it or not, even state government that wants transparent pricing. We are looking to pilot with our ACO transparent pricing model. And we are also partnered with like-minded people on the other side doing, you know, pharmaceutical, green imaging for procedures. So it's a really cool ecosystem and that we've been kind of sitting in the front of this, what we affectionately call the DPO, the direct pay option, a whole new world of accessing healthcare.
And what is your growth model going forward? What kind of clients are you speaking to? And
so we would, so on the doctor front, we want a seat in every waiting room, and I'm very persuasive, and I will never give up for any doctor that's independent, that wants to, you know, that should join our platform to open up a seat in their waiting room for a direct pay option. Whether they're employed, whether they're individual, whether they're private practice, whether they're group practice, multi-specialty, if they are qualified specialists and we want them to work for their patient, we want them to put a seat decide in their waiting room. So we are an agnostic model in that sense. On the patient side, we are obviously direct to consumer, which is pretty exciting, but we are looking for aggregators, employers that want to either they're self-insured or medical cost sharing, that want options. Right now, think about it. You have employees that might be living in Texas, but working in New York. So how are you going to control that cost? The answer is it's going to be nearly impossible. So we like to be that solution. We want to make sure that those employees that may be very far from where you have traditionally used offered your healthcare to your employees actually have access. And really, at the end of the day, Uberdoc is just an access tool, an access and price transparency. And then once the patient's in the office, you can follow the rules of the insurance plan, the medical cost sharing plan, the patient can remain cash. We just want that first date. We need to get the patient in because that's 95% of the care that patient's going to occur by getting them to the right doctor.
And how would you compare yourself to competitors, if they are in fact competitors, like Healthcare Blue Book or the Wow Cash Appointment app or Mish or various other shopping tools?
So we're really focused on the appointment, right? The appointment, direct pay appointment. We're very easy. Very, very easy. There's no complexity. The doctors set their price, but the default price is $250. So it's set right in above the Medicare allowable, so no one is out of compliance. So we made it really easy for that first step. A lot of the other tools out there are trying to control a lot of the different steps, the medical bundling and so forth. Now, while we are working with doctors who work with surgery centers who are offering that, and we're trying to be kind of the facilitator in that, our model really is about a transaction. We are not trying to set the price for anyone. We are just trying to set the transparency. And so we are very unique in this marketplace because we are agnostic. We can sit in front of Wow. We can sit in front of many of these other companies that are looking to do kind of the same thing and controlling the cost for the second, third, fourth, fifth step. We're the first date. We're the door. And I kind of think of us like Ticketmaster, right? Where we get you into the show. Now, what else can we offer you? Perhaps a discount on a hotel, on a ride to the show, on a dinner. In other words, we could be that aggregator to bring patients into this new world of direct pay, which is really the bigger issue.
Are you able to share your screen and maybe show us the app?
Yeah. Oh, you want me to show you the app? Okay. I was preparing a
website.
slide. I had like a slide talk on kind of prepared about kind of healthcare in general. Did you? Let me see if I can be good about this. Hold on one second. I just have to get my. Okay. All right, so now I have to get to my screen, right? Hold on. This is where I have to show my technical skills here. Okay, and where can I more? Share screen. Okay, now this is my screen, right? Is that my screen? No, this is my screen. Okay. All right, do you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so we're rather simple. Say you want to find a breast surgeon in 01810. It's just as simple as that. And oh, look, it's me. But we have doctors now that are listed by proximity and availability. Every doctor just has an appointment slot that appears in perpetuity. So this would be every Tuesday at 8 o'clock and so on and so on and so on. It's a very, very easy model that we're able to do. And also our doctors also have visit type can be both in-person and telemedicine. So our doctors have that choice. Many of our doctors are just in person because that makes sense for them. Other doctors are just telemedicine, and many of our doctors do both. And we do encourage our doctors to add this in because, cranky old surgeons like me do telemedicine. So it offers sort of a new version. So you just kind of choose an appointment slot. And then you go through, the reason for the appointment. This is my favorite part of the whole app. and the doctors on the call will appreciate this. This is written in the patient's own words. The chief complaint is 99% of what the patient tells me. If it's like my right thumb hurts, or like I feel pain in my left breast, or whatever that is, they put that there. That's pretty much the patient's in their own words. So there's no structured data here. Once they say this, it continues on, and it opens up. I'll just say, you know, I have pain, and then you go into this, and then it prompts you to log into the account. And then give your demographic, and then it goes off with an email. I can't do this piece of it because I don't have that all loaded in. That's my doctor side. So anyway, so that is how our app works. It's very, very simple. It's simple on the doctor side too. You know, this, I don't believe that's updated on my password. On the doctor side, it's the doctors simply get an email that says you have a patient appointment, and there's a very easy dashboard, and the doctors simply go thumbs up or thumbs, they say thumbs up to accept the appointment. I don't know if Brianna, if you're on the call, Brianna, that you have the back end on the doctor side, because I believe this is my old login here. That's not going to get me in. Yeah.
Let me interrupt a second, Paula. Is
Yeah.
Brianna Sochi?
Yes.
Okay, then I will let her in.
Yeah,
Hold on.
Brianna, Brianna Sochi. Yes.
She's, yeah,
She's
hold on.
still
one
in the
second.
waiting group.
Yeah. Yeah,
She's
I didn't know who that
waiting.
was. Okay.
I literally just changed my passcode. So let's see if I can get into my my login site, because I changed my passcode on my other computer. Let's see if that's what it is. I don't want to do my forget password. She has the back key, but I can't be both in the app. You can't be both a patient and a doctor. That's the problem. So I can't show you the back end of it where the doctor says, but it's very, very simple for patients. It's we have doctors all over. And the nice part about it, so the app part in our marketing page, are you still there? Hold on. In your marketing page, I'm trying to get into, I'm sorry, I'm not doing a good job here trying to get into I always do it so on our site in general, we have a lot of resources as well. Not just it's easy to book the appointment, but we have a lot of things about every one of the specialties. And that's really important too, because there's a whole bunch of specialists that are here, and we have a lot of information for patients about how to access the system, how what other things they can get to through our app, and everything else through our marketing page. So we do have like an ecosystem that is grown quite a bit, and then of course we have a lot of blogs, we have facts, and even if we want to say like Addiction Medicine Go, I have to do the fields, but there's a lot about patients can learn about each one of the specialties as well on our site. So so there's different ways that they can enter our site, and we have things for employers here as well, that give sort of information, ebook and so forth about how we work and how we work with employers. And we are validated as well as a cost saving tool, especially for urgent care and emergency care. So I wasn't sure, Charles, if you had wanted me to do a presentation on beyond just the Uberdoc part, and just about healthcare in general. I wasn't sure. That's what I had. My slide deck had actually on it, but
we're open. That's interesting. We love seeing how you actually use the app.
You like how you said, Brianna, are you on?
So
Brianna on, because I can because
yeah,
they want to see a demo of the app. I showed the front end. Do you have the doctor sign in? Because of course my login is not the live login.
Yeah, I mean I could share doctor if you want. You'd have to make me a host though to share. So I don't know if that's easy for you guys or not.
If you make Brianna a host, she'll take you through the the doctor side of it. So I kind of took them to the patient side, find an appointment, and And one of the things that I did, just let me just say on this part while you're getting on there, is that one of the things that's nice about is that you can click on also the doctor and you can like learn more about the doctor. It has a map, it connects to your own website. So from a purely marketing tool for doctors, where they need an appointment maker, they need to have access online. This is kind of a nice phone book listing, right? And you can see the appointments can be forever and ever and ever. So Uber means universal. So we are universally available all the time, which is what kind of makes it nice. So, and many of our doctors have like very special things that they can put on their own webpage. And that's also really important for us, for them to have that. So, so Bran, are you able to share the screen?
Yep.
I will stop sharing my screen, and Brianna can show you the back end a little bit from the doctor side.
Yep. I apologize how messy my desktop is. Alrighty. You can see my screen?
Yep.
So this is what it looks like for a doctor. This is just my practice demo account that I play around with. But this is considered their dashboard. As you can see here, we have two types of users on the Uberdoc dashboard. So one is a specialist, the other is a practice admin. They both have the same, rights and see the same thing when they come in. It's just we have some offices where the practice admin approves appointments on behalf of their physician. So under here on manage users is where you see all of those or all the users. I'm going to go to dashboard really quick. So dashboard is where you have all of your appointments. So you'll see here again, all test appointments. But when a patient requests an appointment, the office will get an email. They can also opt in for SMS messaging, letting them know they have an appointment. They can log into Uberdoc. You'll see who the appointment is for, when the appointment is, as well as the visit type, as well as some brief demographics on the patient, and then reason for appointment. At this time, the user can then approve or reject the appointment request. So if approved, immediately $50 is charged to the patient's payment method on file, half of it to Uberdoc, half of it to the physician. That's considered the appointment hold. So if the patient cancels less than 24 hours before the appointment or they're a no-show, they forfeit that $50. If the appointment happens, then a couple more options will appear here, and you can complete that appointment, and then the remaining of the payment is transferred, some to Uberdoc and then the remaining to the physician. So all the payment processing is done on the Uberdoc appointment. Here you can see a couple of other statuses we have, such as rejected. The office can cancel as well and will fully refund the patient, and so forth. There's also a little M here that indicates that this could be a Medicare patient. So with Medicare, they pay only $50 to use the Uberdoc appointment, and then the doctor actually bills Medicare for that visit. So that's what that M.
And that's keeping with a 2016 regulation, and that's for doctors who are still Medicare participants. Obviously, if you're not, and that does not apply to Medicare Advantage. Medicare Advantage is treated just like a regular Uberdoc patient. The full amount is billed.
Yep. And then I went here and I clicked on practice details. Here, this is where you can add, offices have many locations, so they can go ahead and add all of those here. You'll also see a couple of areas where you can connect to Stripe. So Stripe is the payment processor we use to do that or to facilitate the payments. And then there's also manage users. So you can go ahead and you can click on your specialist. And this is what it looks like to edit their specialty landing page. So depending on the visit types that they have, you can edit the visit types here. You can set block out dates for when you're not available, edit the price of your consultation, and edit your biography, headshot, and so forth. We also do have a white label single sign-on with VC, which is a telemedicine clinic. So physicians who have subscribed to our telemedicine clinic, they can click the button right here, and it will put them into their telemedicine clinic. So, and that's the doctor dashboard.
Great. Thank you, Brianna. That's great. One of the things when we were building Uberdoc, it was very, very important to me that the doctors had control of that specialty landing page. Many of us who are, in practice for many years have understood that we had to have sort of advertising to our patients. And it used to be the newspaper, ad, or the local or the hospital would promote their own physicians. But obviously, Dr. Google became a big part of the referral network, and you needed to have a presence. And there were a lot of companies out there that would come to doctors, and they still do, and charge a lot of money to have an internet presence. And so one of the things that I was, absolutely committed to having, I won't say fallen victim to that, but, with a vein business, we were always marketing and we're paying a great deal of money, is that I wanted that landing page. I wanted every doctor to have their own ability to edit their own page, to tell their patients what they do. And then we basically will bring patients to that door. And I think that's so important because many doctors are independent. They don't have tens of thousands of dollars in a marketing budget to access patients. But that's really where medicine is now, right? Patients, I think it's now 80% of patients go to the internet first when they have a problem. And that's important for patients, again, that move into a new city and they need to find a primary care physician. How do they even begin, right? How do they even begin? Where do they go? And so that's one of the reasons why I just wanted to make it easy. And I wanted doctors to have the ability to be front and center and available to their patients.
Paula, if you could bring up the patient interface again.
Yeah.
On finding an Uberdoc doc.
Yeah.
Can you kind of show the search capability? How does one begin the search?
How does one begin the search? Brianna, do you have the test, or you want me to do it with just the
I can do it. No problem.
Brianna will do it better than I will.
So in other words, how does the patient know which specialist to search for?
So
that kind of process that they go through.
So we have two ways that the patients access the site. They will go through directly to the main site and scroll and find a specialist, or they will be driven directly to orthopedic near me, and the orthopedic page will pop up. And then they'll search that way. So there's two ways to enter, with intention or directly through the main spot.
Right. Yeah. So with this, I'm just going to start with our actual our homepage here. So the patient would go ahead, they'd put in their zip code, and then they can choose the specialty that they're looking for. So I'm going to click foot and ankle surgery, for instance.
So we're assuming they know what specialty they want.
From this access point, I'm assuming that they're putting in their zip code and their specialty, and that's how most of the patients do find us, right? So backing up, they'd be looking for, dermatologist near me, right, in a Google search, and then Uberdoc would pop up. Most of the, at least from an advertising perspective, most of the traffic and consumers we go after are those who are searching for those specific keywords.
Oh, they're going to get a Google Doc link in the search from Google, so they'll get to you that way?
Yeah.
No, like going to Google and typing in dermatologist near me.
Right. But once they do that, will there be a Google result that pops up from their Google search?
Yeah, there could be. For instance, I don't know if it's going to pop up for me here, but or an ad will pop up, like ZocDoc, for instance, just popped up, right? So I put in dermatologist near me, that would be Uberdoc, right? That's how most patients come across us. Yep. So this is our directory. Doctors are ranked based on proximity and availability. So you'll see here that the doctor at the top of the list is the one who's closest to me, and then it descends that way, as well as by appointment availability. Physicians who have a state license or a state medical license in the location I'm in. So I put in a Massachusetts zip code. It looks like Dr. Sachs has a medical license in Massachusetts. So he is available for telemedicine. And that's why he's listed there.
And we are strict with that. You have to be licensed in the state that you are providing care.
What other filters do you have there for more filters?
Yep. So visit type, as well as gender of the specialist, and preferred days. So those are additional filters that the patient can search by. And then you can descend down the list. So you'll see the doctor's first name, last name, their address, their price of their consultation, and their appointment availability. So the patient can go ahead and click on the physician and learn more about them. So we have a little Google map here for location. You can actually visit the doctor's website to learn more about them, as well as read their biography and see their board certs and hospital affiliations.
Any
From-
ratings, any ratings there, or people need to look off, outside of this?
So as far as ratings, okay. So first of all, doctors hate ratings, obviously. And that's the easy answer. I'm going to tell you that the rating, if the way our site works, it's by availability, right? And proximity. So the doctor at the top of the list is the one simply closest to you and most available. Okay, there are many, many places you can search to find information about physicians. But from an Uberdoc standpoint, we're solving the problem that is urgency is nearby available. When you look at the three biggest drivers of medical care, three biggest drivers, and it's been studied up the wazoo, it's cost, right? Knowing the cost, knowing the price, time, getting in quickly, and quality. And the one that ranks third across the board every time is always quality. And the reason for that is because there is an assumed quality that if I'm going to a board certified orthopedic, that person should be good. Should be have, and any Uberdoc has to not just be boarded, they have to be in practice. Like we have restrictions on our, we credential everybody.
Yeah.
So it's like you're booking your airline, you choose your airline, you don't choose your pilot. You assume that JetBlue or Delta put somebody in the cockpit. And the way human nature works is I say, you got to see this doctor. She's the best, right? But guess what? She's on vacation. So now I'm seeing the number 2 doctor. The number 2 doctor becomes the number 1 doctor. And again, simply Uberdoc, and going back to Charles' first question about like all these other apps that are trying to bundle everything, we're at the first step. If you walk in and you don't like that doctor, I'm going to tell you the best ratings, the most accurate are from the patient. Patients can sniff us out a mile away. And I don't necessarily think other people can make that decision for you. And it's part of my theory and in what I believe where we need to go in medicine is that we've built this hierarchical model, very much similar to what we've been talking about, the sharing economy. It's the hierarchical versus a sharing economy, which is a peer-to-peer transaction. We've erased this autonomy that the patient has. We've erased the doctor-patient relationship in the equation, and we've decided that there's a third party, like an all-powerful party that's going to determine, that's going to pick the winners and losers. In a free market society, we don't want that, right? We don't want people picking for us. So it's a long answer to your question. Nobody gets on this platform without us vetting them, okay? That's the, we're not like a ZocDoc. We don't just put everybody on. You can't make this platform unless you're 35 years old. I joke because you have to be trained. And, as a specialist, nobody's on this platform that's younger than 35. By the time you finish medical school, by the time you finish training, there isn't any shortcuts anymore. In fact, there's longer journeys. So to make it here, we've already put people through their paces. I think that every rating you see out there, you can purchase. And the only thing we can say is that we'd like to, like you saw ZocDoc, they're purchasing the top of that Google list.
Yeah. Question. What was my question? Go ahead, Jim. Think about it. Sorry about that.
Surgeons. So let me, you do much, or is surgery?
Oh, I know what it
generally-
was.
Okay, I was just gonna, you can go ahead.
Go ahead, Jim.
Surgeons, is surgery generally considered a longer term? Like, I don't need the appointment today. I want to meet someone. So
no.
you're not.
Well, when you twist your ankle, right? What happens in the current system. You twist your ankle, you end up at a walk-in, you pay probably $300 or $400 out of pocket, you get an x-ray you probably didn't need. They say, well, go see your primary. Okay, now your primary, they order maybe another x-ray. Then they say, finally, they go to the orthopedic. You've gone 14 steps and you've paid a bunch of money. The concept here between Uberdoc is really simple. It's a walk-in model for, oh, wait, I can use Uberdoc and get into an orthopedic, a foot and ankle specialist tomorrow or next week or whenever before I take my trip or when my day off is. So that's the beauty of our model, is that we're trying to eliminate, I trust patients know what's best for them. I've always believed in the patient. Now, that doesn't mean that we're moving around our primary care colleagues. Absolutely not, because what's best for many patients is to manage their blood pressure and find a good doctor who's nearby and available who can manage their chronic disease. And that chronic disease might be diabetes and hypertension and maybe a rheumatologic, but they don't need 3 specialists. They need one good primary care. And let me just tell you, you can't even find a primary care, right? You can't find anybody these days. You walk in and you see somebody and you don't see that same person twice. So Uberdoc is really about old-fashioned medicine. It is old-fashioned. And getting in to see and giving you some choice, finding someone that's convenient for you, and also that's not going to break the bank. And you can continue with these doctors if they take your Blue Cross and they're in network. I mean, honestly, if your doctor who's 5 miles from you is not in network, there's something wrong with your network, right? There's something wrong. And that's just not fair to take a patient and tell them you got to go 45 miles for your cancer treatment, even though there's a cancer center or an oncologist that's like 3 miles from you. It may be good for your employer, but it's not good for your spouse's employer. And there's some things that, when you some models that try to navigate you into like the cheapest possible option, you have to remember, it's not cheapest for the family. It's not cheaper when you have to take somebody out of work to drive them for a long distance, because surgery requires recovery. There's a certain common sense approach to all of this. Now, if you're looking for that third opinion on melanoma, go anywhere you want, right? But when you're talking about the average procedure that you operate on a patient, you send them home, I want the patient I just operate on, I don't want her living 3 hours away. She has a complication, she needs to come find me. It's just not common sense. So that's kind of where I don't necessarily subscribe to some of the other models where they try to control everything. Now, the exciting part about Uberdoc, and since you brought it up, I'm going to just bring it up, is that, what happens with that next step? So now I'm seeing this foot and ankle surgeon and now I need surgery, but she works maybe at a surgery center. Oh, that's cool. But I don't want to use my insurance. I have a high deductible. Maybe I want to use it, I want to have a cash price for that, right? That surgery center has to give us an Uberdoc price. That's what we're working on. I don't know what that price is going to be, but that's what's going to be great for you guys when you negotiate contracts with employers and want to control that cost. We're bringing it's the doctor who's going to go to the surgery center with this patient and say, okay, now we need a DPO, right? You got to give me another option. And it can't be the $10,000 price tag, right? It can't be, oh, well, this is our cash price. It's like, no, it has to be the real price. So my goal is to ultimately have Uberdoc, a patient whip out their Uberdoc account. It's a Stripe account. Their credit card or HSA is already loaded into this. They go to that surgery center now, and that's what they're going to utilize, that HSA or that credit card, or perhaps their employer credit card, or whoever might be paying that cost. It's that transparency now is set. There's no negotiation, right? It's done. And that's my dream. That's the moonshot, is that, Uberdoc is that whatever 1.5 max at 2x Medicare reference point price, and that's what you get. And I think that will solve the bundling issues.
Thanks.
If not the HSA, then the money doubling health matching account. That can, you pay $84 a month, that doubles to $5,000, a few hundred a month doubles to 30, 40, 50, 60 grand. That's what we're selling, so that folks can max out their HSAs and not touch them until retirement.
Absolutely. And I have to tell you, one of my proposals that I've put out there is that On Medicare, Medicare is always fighting about prices, right? And how do you control Medicare costs? You have to decrease utilization. And there's only like a few ways that people think about that, right? Decrease utilization by, killing off your old people, right? And it's like, and that's not going to happen. Or you lower the price. You can't lower the price lower than you have it, right? Right now, having like, I think, doctors get less from Medicare for like a complex visit than you pay going to like, your barista to get your cappuccino at this point, right? And you can't go lower, but you can encourage Medicare patients not to use their Medicare card. And you can say, if you pay the small stuff out of pocket with your HSA, maybe you get a bonus back. Maybe you get a federally funded refund into your HSA that grows every year so that you literally could build that HSA and it could be federally subsidized because you're rewarding the patient, not the doctor. Like our whole system, we reward the doctor, right? If I'm really good as a primary care and I don't spend money on you, I get a bonus back. Why are we bonusing the doctor? Why aren't we bonusing the patient? Wouldn't that be cool? And then we could break this addiction to our insurance card, right?
Yeah.
And that's my I put my 2 cents in there on my Medicare dream, but it's an interesting concept, right? Decrease utilization by not taking out your card.
Speaking of decreased utilization and cost control, I want you to touch on what we discussed at the beginning, your telemedicine visits that please everyone except for the institution, the hospital. Talk about the macro potential benefit of Uberdoc to lower healthcare costs. If you start getting more independent specialists, cash visits through Uberdoc, through telemedicine, through the ambulatory center, out of the institution, how is Uberdoc going to really help with the out of control costs?
So again, I believe it all starts at the bottom. Again, touching on your sharing economy, it all starts at the bottom. It starts with a patient going to a doctor. That's the fundamental first step in healthcare all the time. So the change has to occur at the bottom. It can't come top down. Got to be bottom up. The more doctors you recruit onto this platform, and again, we're agnostic. There's no reason for a doctor not to join. It's a shame on you if you don't, right? Because it's price transparency, it's federal regulation, it's the whole thing. As soon as we have an army of doctors that are willing to see patients for transparency, that is incredibly disruptive. Now, what other tools can we give those doctors? Because right now, we've been sitting behind like castle walls, right? To get to that specialist, you got to climb across the moat, fight the person at the gate, climb up the stairs, fight the dragon, and then finally you're in, right? It's way too complicated. We give easy access and all of that disappears. All of that infrastructure disappears. And that's expensive. It's expensive to hire the dragon at the gate that stops you. It's expensive to have multiple layers of pre-approvals. It's expensive for insurance plans. It's expensive for the government when they have all these prior auths and everything else. It's tremendously expensive. So in our model, we get the worker bees, right? You got the people that provide the service. You have the appointment availability staring you right here, all the appointments that are available. And after this, what you can then do is you've got to bring those patients into the system and they're going to have to accommodate them because they've come in through this way. Now, with doctors and specialists, and you give them the tools of telemedicine, we can change the whole equation because now I can do my office hours remotely. And when I see you this way, I don't have to have an overhead that requires me to hire like 2 or 3 people to keep an office going and so forth. So that cost comes down. So even though my reimbursement for that telemedicine piece may not be the same as an in-person, although it should be the same, and Medicare did say it should be the same, the overhead comes down. So the other way to get money into the pockets of doctors is to drop the overhead. And telemedicine is the best way to drop an overhead and remain very connected with your patients. Now, when you think of big institutions, they have a pushback on telemedicine. And why is that? Before this talk, we started, why would big hospitals not like telemedicine? Because now I can't order the blood test, do the x-ray. I can't charge a facility charge, right? The upsell disappears. I can tell you doctors love it. institutions push back on it. So telemedicine, I think, is in its first few stages. It is a tool. Every doctor needs a virtual examining room. That's it, everyone. You need that option. We've always connected to our patients with a telephone call anyways. You have a complication, I'm there for you. We're available 24/7. So that connection's always existed between patients and doctors. You add to it video conferencing, you add to it remote monitoring, you add to it all these other things. It's so great. But I believe telemedicine should sit completely in the, for new patients, it should sit in the cash world. It's inexpensive. It's not use. You shouldn't waste your insurance card on telemedicine, right? It's like, why would you use your car insurance for an oil change, right? Telemedicine is going to be at most a few $100s. And so I believe it should stay in the cash model, and it's really hard to collect co-pays also remotely. So, but anyways, but that's, so that, I don't know if that answers your question, but I see telemedicine as a huge disruptor. But it's a wonderful tool for individual doctors.
Excellent. George, you want to unmute yourself? I think you had a question in chat about how to recruit the independent physicians you're talking to as you rebuild self-funded plans with the fair market cost plan. George, are you still there?
Hi, sorry. Yes, I am indeed. What was the question?
Go ahead and ask your question that you put in chat. How do you help recruit independent doctors to join Uberdoc? Is that your question? And
Yeah.
Do you want to comment more how you see this fitting into your disruptive benefits field?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I mean, most of my clients now are employers who pay for healthcare. They don't pay Blue Cross to, give the employees a card, and then we have that all the problems we talk about all the time. So I've also started to help independent practices remain independent by getting them in touch with these self-funded employers who want to pay fair prices. They also want better service for their members, such as easier access, but in return, they'll pay faster, and they want price transparency too, and they don't want balance billing. If there's any balance billing going on, that provider is going on the list that nobody else will, so don't send people there anymore, basically. So yeah, I love this. I spent a little bit of time on Uberdoc this morning, putting different zip codes where I have clients, etc. And it seems to me that if somebody's willing to travel a little bit, they're going to get what they need pretty quickly, which is great, because one of the big problems we have is everybody wants to shop for healthcare as close as possible to their homes, and they should really be focusing on the right care, even if it's an hour or 2 hours drive. You want to get the best people to look after what you need.
And I should say that so we love marketing doctors and we love recruiting doctors. That's what we're good at. And if you tell me where your employers were and where where people needed care, we go right and find those doctors. Again, it's hard to say no to me. So if there's a big GI group, for example, that's very close to one of your employers, we'd go right in and say, hey, we're signing up for Uberdoc. There's no friction on our end. And there's no reason for a doctor not to join us, right? It's like, and all you do is you go in and say, hey, you got to give us a seat in your waiting room. Thank you. Because there's a bunch of there's a large employer like 10 miles away that wants to send patients over through a cash model. So it's a win-win for everybody. But you're 100% right. People will, if you just get to the right doctor on the first go round, it makes it easier going forward. And like I said, with these patients from a lot of your plans, you're introducing your plans to doctors. I mean, speaking as a doctor, right? Every day there's a new plan that we have, right? And I can tell you right now, we don't want to be excluded from anything. If somebody comes in and says, I'm a Blue Cross patient, okay, I'm a Medicare patient, okay, I have Mickey Mouse insurance. What's Mickey Mouse insurance? Oh, it's a brand new insurance plan, it's a national plan, it's whatever, medical cost sharing. I don't want to be excluded from that, because one thing, the reason why I have 4,000 doctors active on the platform right now with modest resources and a very tenacious team is because I get doctors. Doctors are not motivated by money. They're motivated by the patient, by volume. If I can do 5 of these instead of 1, or if I can do, if I go to the OR and I have like 3 cases, my rival has 1, that's how I value myself, my waiting room. So all I'm doing is expanding their reach in a waiting room. So understanding how doctors think. Now, that being said, what about doctors that are employed, right? You so many of these areas that you work with are strict networks, right? And they have hospitals that are like armored, again, they've set walls around them. You have to be primary care doctors, DPC doctors face this challenge all the time. Every time they refer, they're referring out of network, right? That's a joke. And with surprise bill legislation, even though it's been dismantled, that all will kind of become a non-issue. But the point is that you can't limit access. And when your employee doesn't even live close to where you have your relationships, all bets are off. So I think those are very short-sighted types of plans. I don't think that would ever obstruct. And our whole, concept in this is that we get doctors that are behind those walls to say yes to us. And that is where the power is, because that's where we dismantle it.
Yeah, maybe there's something that I've come across a lot. I know a lot of independent providers that get a lot of their business from bucas. Okay, so they're scared to put their prices up there. They're scared to say, oh yeah, we'll accept cash pricing, because in every buca contract I've ever seen, there's a clause that says you cannot charge anybody else less for the same services than you charge us. That's how a lot of them put together some kind of a bundle or whatever, so that it's not the same service exactly, T for T, right?
So we get that all the time, but in point of fact, that's the insurance world where cash, those rules don't apply. We get that all the time. In fact, in Massachusetts, we have something called partners. It's now Mass General Brigham. They're kind of like a behemoth, in the entire Massachusetts. They dominate Massachusetts healthcare. They spent about 6 or 7 months with their legal team trying to tear us apart, and they realized they couldn't, because we're not subject to any of the rules that the insurance industry is subject to.
Now that's awesome. And the partners is moving into New Hampshire.
Oh, believe me, they're right over the border here. And because the Attorney General wouldn't let them expand in Massachusetts, but it doesn't matter. I mean, I get patients from my local doctors that are employed by partners. I pick up the phone right now, I can't get through, and neither can my patients.
Right.
Okay,
Well, they did get permission.
Happen.
They did get permission to open 2 more radiology facilities in Massachusetts, which we obviously don't need there, especially at those price.
It's always going to be about convenience and access. And I think that they are kind of old. I think I'm going to say it's an old-fashioned model, and you can continue with that model, and you will have people who will subscribe to it, but that's okay. There can be, again, we're in a 3-tier system. You have, federally subsidized care, Medicare, Medicaid. You have employer-based care through the bucas, and you have the DPO. And the DPO is the direct pay option. And that piece is a viable piece of this, and it's convenience. It works through without the middleman, and patients will have their choices. And patients can be hybrid. They can be a Medicare patient and use Uberdoc. They can be a Blue Cross patient that just wants to get in faster. Doctors are going to have to participate in all these models. And there isn't any real restriction. Again, no one cannot give me a seat in their waiting room. There's no reason. Because as soon as they say, well, we can't take direct pay, it's like, okay, so no one can pay you cash. And they're like, oh, we didn't say that. It means you don't want to take a health savings account. And they're like, oh, we didn't say that. Like, you'd much prefer to submit your bill to Blue Cross and get denied after 90 days and then have to resubmit it. It's like, so part of this is just a movement forward on the, it takes 2 to tango. You need the offices, the doctors, to be on board. The independent doctors, easy sell. Group doctors, not that bad. Academic doctors, the ones that are held up in the tower, they join us because they join our second opinion network. But it's a harder sell, and it's a longer sales cycle to get but eventually they'll come around, and then we win. And I say we win because then we offer those direct pay options in those waiting rooms. We don't worry about keeping it opaque. We don't ask you to set your price. We just say, when an Uberdoc patient shows up, you got to give them that x-ray at transparency, or you got to give them that visit at transparency. Right now, we're the visit, but soon we're going to have that transaction capability throughout all those second, third, fourth steps. And who wouldn't join us, right? Who wouldn't want it? What imaging center will say no to cash?
Right.
It's like, I mean, and if you don't have your prices posted, you're really an antique. You know, I mean, every doctor has a price posted now, because we all have patients that have deductibles that are upwards of $10,000 or $12,000. You know, maybe 5 years ago it wasn't the case, but now everybody knows.
Right, right.
You know, and so people aren't, again, getting back to patients, they're not dumb. And so in a philosophical world, I'm very much believing in the patient. You know, when you think about the triangle of trust, you know, you have authenticity, you have logic, and you have empathy. And that is the cornerstone of medicine, right? Authenticity, as Charles said, I'm wearing my scrubs today, I'm authentic. You know, empathy is, of course, the cornerstone to medicine, but it has to be logical. We forget the logical piece, right? So right now, insurance doesn't fit any of those criteria, right? Our system is not logical. Like when you have to go, like, you know, again, you can't go across the street, you got to go somewhere else and pay more. Like, wait, what's logical about this, right? There's certainly no empathy. Insurance companies are hard, and hospitals are far from empathetic, right? That's why you need legislation to make them like be fair to patients, you know, and authenticity. We don't have a lot of authenticity when our primary care physicians are like lumped together with like people who have 5 years out of high school. And they're expected to write the same prescription, and expected to have to go through the same prior authorizations. Really? Really? Like a cancer specialist can't just get the buy on what chemotherapy to order. Somebody else has to approve that. That is nonsense. You know, so this is the other thing that I hope people understand, is that Uberdoc's the real deal. We're like the Navy SEALs. There's no mid-level on our site. You know, this is when you come to us, this is the value that you get. We are what we, you know, you see what you get here. And I've always felt that once you start that process properly, the patient becomes your partner. They're not someone you tell what to do. They become your partner. You're a collaborator with your patient, and you walk through and you tear that patient together. We don't have to hide behind a "I know what's best for you" model, because that's the old 1960s approach to medicine. And managed care comes out of that 1960s paternalistic model, which just doesn't work anymore. That's not who we are. It's not how patients come to treatment. They come in armed with all sorts of information. And we owe it to them to take our expertise and meet them where they are. And nothing in our system does that. And I can tell you, I was on a panel with a Press Ganey lady. And it was a Georgia Hospital Association. So it was all about like how we can improve customer service, you know, patient experience. And so I had a 3-minute Uberdoc blurb, and she followed me and she said, it's really great to hear that there is someone with a platform that is meeting the patients where they are. Now, this Press Ganey lady is the one who surveys every patient across the country. So the patients want convenience. They want access. They want no nonsense. They want to cut the BS. And that's right from the person who gathers the information. So talk about an awesome like consumer like you know, stamp of approval. But honestly, is it that hard for the physicians on this call? If there are physicians out there, is it that hard to figure out for people? Every individual knows, you know, healthcare isn't that complicated. Really isn't. To make patients better, you know, it just takes a little honesty and simplify. You know, when you're hurt, you get people better. That's what they want.
And with that, Paula, we've completed our hour. Do you want to let folks in the recording going up to YouTube this weekend know how to reach you?
Sure. I'm very easy to reach. It's Paula at uber-docs.com. On our website, also, there's a phone number there. They can reach out to our info area, our info email, and also a phone number. So yes, Paula at uber-docs.com. You can reach me on LinkedIn as well. I love talking to everyone. As you can see, I'm chatty Kathy, but this is a group effort. And so having people get the employees on one side, getting doctors on the other side, we are the glue. And we really hope that we can usher in a better, get doctors over the reluctance to be transparent.
So what about your wealth? If your money could actually talk to you, would you listen to it? Well, with the DNA Network Academy, your money actually can talk to you, and it's going to tell you just what it told this client. This family had over 24 debts, mortgages, car loans, the works. They were on track to take 20 years to pay it all off and instead did it in 8.5. Plus, they did it without refinancing, making more money, or even changing their lifestyle. So find out for yourself with a free analysis that is completely confidential. No personal information, no social security numbers, no credit checks, none of that nonsense. But what is exciting is that the outcome of that report you receive is a guaranteed outcome for you. To get that report, head on over to bit.ly/debt to wealth. You will arrive at this simple form. Fill it in as simple as lender number 1 and credit card number 2. What really matters is the accuracy of your numbers. You'll be able to see that if instead of 20 years or whatever your number is, that you may actually be out of debt and on your way to wealth in as little as 6.3 years like this client.